International Podcast Day is this Friday, September 30th. This is a day for everyone to celebrate podcasts. It's for podcasters, for audiences, and for us to introduce others to the amazing fun and education available through podcasts. Let's not keep this to ourselves. Hi, I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the Audacity to Podcast.com, and I'm thrilled to be one of the co-founders of International Podcast Day. And this is one of my favorite days every year because podcasts have been so huge to me in my life, from the podcasts that I listen to and I enjoy and the relationships I've formed through them, as well as how podcasting has helped change and improve my life as well. So I love podcasts. I love podcasters. I love the podcasting industry. And I want to celebrate International Podcast Day with you too. Now, I have a few ideas of some ways that you can celebrate, but this is totally up to you. Use your own creativity. So here are just a few ideas that you can run with as inspiration, or use these exact ideas to celebrate International Podcast Day yourself. First of all, visit internationalpodcastday.com. That's the official website. That's where you can go to see what is happening, what's the schedule of events, of official events that day, and how you can participate, get involved. There are many other suggestions of what you can do on that day. The other thing you could do is catch some of the live stream on September 30th. It's at internationalpodcastday.com/live. That live stream will be running from 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time, GMT -4, over at internationalpodcastday.com/live. This will be a great opportunity for you to hear from podcasters outside of the United States, outside of the typical bubble of podcasters that you might be familiar with, and really discover what's happening with podcasts and podcasting across the world, because podcasts are global. We reach a global audience, and we can change the world through our podcasts. You can also do things on social media with the hashtag International Podcast Day. And some things that you could do on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are on social media under that hashtag, International Podcast Day. Consider sharing your favorite podcasts, especially the unpopular ones. Like here, I'm going to tell you this right now. This will be the only podcast I'll mention in this podcast. Check out Knick Knack News. It's a fun podcast hosted by two independent podcasters that I met at Podcast Movement a few years ago. And it's a podcast I really enjoy, and there are some inspirations I've taken from their podcast as well. It's a great independent podcast. It's fun, talks about science and facts and different things in a fun way. It's a really enjoyable podcast, and it's not very popular. It needs to be popular. So that's why I'm mentioning it here in this podcast. You can do that same kind of thing. Tell other people about some of the podcasts you love, especially the unpopular ones, because wouldn't it be nice if someone else was telling their friends about your podcast, if yours is an unpopular one? Let's help the unpopular podcasts get more popular. You could also talk about some of the things that you love about podcasts, and assuming you're a podcaster, since you listen to this, you're probably somehow involved in the podcasting industry or podcasting yourself. You can talk about what you love about podcasting. Even if all you do is edit podcasts for others or market for others or anything like that, what is it that you love about working in podcasting? This is also a great day to send your feedback and write 5-star reviews for your favorite podcasts. And I'll have something more for you about that if you're a podcaster, a way that can help you in that. You can find ways to give back to your favorite podcasts. Maybe join their Patreon or support them in some way financially. Send them a few dollars or a few thousand Satoshis if you're on the Value for Value with Podcasting 2.0 and your favorite podcasts are on Podcasting 2.0 with Value for Value. Find ways to give back to your favorite podcasts. You could host your own live streaming event on International Podcast Day. Maybe you share your story with your audience. Maybe you do something with your audience, a special community event where they get to chat with you. You could record it, publish it as an episode. Maybe you do it very casually. It could be on Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, YouTube Live, Twitch, Facebook Live, whatever. Just have some fun with it. Invite your audience to participate. Celebrate podcasting together. You could use your own creativity to find ways to celebrate podcasts and podcasting, the podcasts you love, the podcasts that you do, the relationships and friendships that you've formed through podcasts and podcasting. International Podcast Day is September 30th every year. And there are a lot of significant events to podcasting's history that have happened in or around September in many years past. So that's why we chose September 30th, is it's a nice date to fit with that. There's so much that you can do. And these are just some of the ideas that I came up with I wanted to share with you. And then one other thing that you could do, if you're interested, is I don't offer sales on my products and services very often anymore, just because it's not really something that I like doing, except when I want to celebrate something with you. And because I love International Podcast Day so much, I am offering an additional 20% on any new yearly subscription to my podcast reviews. There's no promo code necessary to use this. Just go to mypodcastreviews.com and sign up on a yearly plan. Or if you're already paying monthly, then you can upgrade to a yearly plan and still get that 20% discount on any of the yearly subscriptions. You get that discount for the first year of any new yearly subscriptions. My Podcast Reviews helps you to know, engage, and grow your audience through the power of podcast reviews. Think of them like testimonials. And then what can you do with a testimonial? Plus, the very popular features that we've launched in the last couple of years, lovethepodcast.com and followthepodcast.com, give you pages that you can share with your audience or your potential audience to help you get more ratings and reviews. That's what the love page is for, to help you get that love back from your audience. And the followthepodcast.com page is to help you get more followers for your podcast. And these are smart pages that will display different options depending on what devices your audience or potential audience are using. So like if your audience is on Android, we don't show Apple Podcasts because Apple Podcasts isn't on Android. We show popular Android options. So people really like these because it's very easy to share these, very easy to speak them, very easy to remember them. You can give calls to action to say, like, if you love the podcast, then leave us a 5-star review at lovethepodcast.com/ and then whatever your link is. My link, for example, is lovethepodcast.com/Audacity. Or if you're new to the podcast, followthepodcast.com/Audacity. You can get that same kind of thing for your podcast through My Podcast Reviews. This offer is available only for new yearly subscriptions. It's a discount on the first year. And this does mean you can upgrade from a monthly plan to a yearly plan and still get that discount on your first year of My Podcast Reviews. It's available only through Friday, September 30th, International Podcast Day. If you want to learn more about that, go to mypodcastreviews.com. And no matter what you do, I hope that on Friday, September 30th, International Podcast Day, you find some way to celebrate podcasts. And what I'd love for you to do, above anything else, is find someone who doesn't listen to podcasts yet and help them find the podcast that's right for them. It might not be your own podcast. A common question that I like to ask people to help them find a podcast is, what's your favorite TV show that you like talking about? Maybe it's right now, maybe it's Rings of Power. Maybe it's the new Star Wars series. Maybe it's a video game. You can ask them, what is your hobby that you could talk about for hours and hours? Maybe it's a particular video game and there might be a podcast about that video game or about video gaming in general, or coin collecting or knitting or sculpting or whatever other hobby there is. There's probably a podcast out there. So I recommend that if nothing else, find someone, a coworker, a friend, a family member, help them find a podcast on their own device with a podcast app that maybe isn't the one that you prefer, but it's one that they can use. Help them find a podcast that you think they would love, even if it's not yours. And I hope that you will celebrate International Podcast Day with me. I'll be tweeting some things. I might do some live streams on that day celebrating International Podcast Day as well. And it's every year, September 30th. Go to internationalpodcastday.com to learn more. For International Podcast Day, I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the Audacity2Podcast.com with a new episode coming this week. It may already be in your podcast app at the time you're listening to this. Thank you for listening.